and technology enablement and immersive experiences. And so just super excited to be here. I was asked a few times, like, what is the thing that you're doing this week? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to a tech conference, right? But truthfully, Infinity Festival is that. It's a festival, right? It's a party. It's a celebration of storytelling, of creatives like yourself, and that emergence of technology, where technology meets media and entertainment. So I'm just super excited to be here in the room. I have one job today, and that is to keep us on time. So when you see me flailing, or if I am rushing you along with any questions, or if any of the panelists or speakers kind of see me sweat a little bit, just know that I am just trying to keep us on time. That's my one job. That's it. That's what I was told to do today. So let's jump into this fantastic lineup of immersive tech and transforming entertainment. So to kick things off, I am excited to dive into the first segment, which is the future of immersive experiences as a standalone industry. This session is all about using the immersive art as a powerful tool for community building and connection, transforming cities into vibrant hubs of creativity. I'm super excited about this panel. We've had one small change, so if you're looking at the schedule, our host has changed because he could not be here with us today. So we have Sean Strider here, who's going to moderate this panel, which we're super excited about. Thank you, Sean, for stepping in. So Sean, with over 20 years of experience in the entertainment industry, is the Chief Creative Officer and co-founder of Sunweaver Creative. Sunweaver specializes in the production of large-scale events, activations, film production, with a focus on film, video games, Japanese animation, and pop culture. Super excited to have you all here today. He's going to introduce the rest of the panel, so I will invite you all up to the stage and help me welcome our first panelist and guest. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I hope I don't disappoint by replacing a JPL scientist with an immersive Imagineer, but we'll try this. Joining with me today is Natalie Bonet, a Grammy Award-winning violinist, and is also doing some really cool stuff in the immersive space, as well as, Gwen, please help me with your last name as well.
Gwenelle.
Excellent. Who is a social psychologist who has been studying about large-scale immersive events and how to draw these kind of crowds, as well as the reaction amongst people and how to build communities around it. So, and joining us as well via satellite is Gertrude. Good to see you again, Gertrude. Whose core technology were some of the founding pieces for the Apple Vision, and is overall one of the most amazing technological engineers that you've met. Let's kick it off with our current topic, is how we're building communities as well as using these immersive technologies and what we're doing, each of us in this space. Natalie, go ahead and start off.
Hi everybody, it's really a pleasure to be here at my fourth Infinity Fest, so nice to see you all here. Well, I come from the performance aspect of things. I'm a violinist, composer, and I'm a storyteller through music. So lately it's been very interesting for me to dive into how I can find new paths and new ways to communicate with the public using technology. I think it's very fascinating, all the tools that are present now. So I guess we'll dive into that a little bit more. I want to, let Gwen introduce herself a little bit more, but this is really fascinating. I'm happy to talk about it.
Thank you. And it's my first edition of Infinity Festival, so I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you. I come from a background in psychology, and I'm today working as a business developer for a creative studio, digital art studio, and for an exhibition venue dedicated to digital arts. And I can see the impact of immersive experiences for people and for society in terms of emotion, in terms of inclusion and art accessibility. And from this, I would like to demonstrate the power of creative and cultural industries as own industry. So yeah, it's what I would like to talk with you today. Thank you.
And then Bertrand, can you hear us okay?
Bertrand, I think.
Yeah, I can hear you. can call me Bert, that's easier.
Thank you, thank you. Bert, tell us a little bit about yourself and your place in immersive technology.
Yeah, so now I'm on the other side of the table. So we have a 40 million fund investing in the creative industries related to technology. So of course, with my background, I get lots of deal flow in immersive technologies. And we also see kind of emerging with Gen AI. I think that it will be an explosion of content creation, which is great because the bar to go in immersive is quite high. So if Gen AI could do lower the bar, it's going to be pretty cool.
Excellent, excellent. And so as we're taking a look at these immersive technologies and how we're able to make events as well as entertain people, we're shifting the stage, right? We're no longer just active, passive spectators. We're now finding content that we can participate in. And when we're doing that, Natalie, if you'd like to talk a little bit about how you're fusing that with music and how you're building the crowds up from that.
For me, the potential that I see is kind of split into many aspects. I think now we can connect. There's a big connection potential between the art and the audience, between the performer or the performance and the audience. There's also a way to personalize it so that you can actually have a unique experience when you watch art or where you experience a musical performance, for example. You can also have more accessibility because technology allows that. You can also have agency. You can actually have your emotions trigger certain things, so you can create a feedback loop. And that is something that's very fascinating to me, is how the audience actually participates in not only the performance or the art, but how they can also provide their own aspect that can be added to it. What I also like about now is that there's this community building, because it's not just VR where you're alone in your headset. You can be in a public space and experience it together, share a group experience, but also have your unique view about it and your unique way to interact with it. So those are like main points that I really enjoy about that.
Well, and Gwen, sort of adding to that, when we have people in this sort of new social environment that is building out immersive experiences, that they are no longer just watching a stage, that they're no longer just being entertained by merely a screen and whatever newest audio technology we have, but to really engage them to both build out a community as well as to build out that story so that they have a sense of purpose within the story. You want to talk a little bit about that and your studies on it?
Thank you. Yeah, in terms of people and immersive experiences, it's very interesting how with different kind of immersive arts, with music, with visual arts, it impacts all of your senses. So it's not just visual, it's not just music, it's everything at the same time, and it's very interesting how it's increase your feeling and your connection with your body. And I had the opportunity to feel it at the time, and I was like, wow, that's so impressive how immersive arts can create a bigger connection for people and their bodies, their feelings, and how it makes people like an actor of those immersive experiences. And you were talking about the crowd and the community, and actually when we are living a collective experiences, some research have already demonstrated that our bodies are synchronizing all together, and we are like moving on this, kind of the same way on this, that's so interesting.
So, sort of to paraphrase that, now people are able to experience
in terms of a brain wave, for example, in terms of a brain wave and heart beating, I think, actually. So that's very interesting how it's very interesting for people, for a community in a collective experience.
So for those how many of you have heard of some of the brainwave technology, some of the physical diagnostic technology that people are also feeding into immersive events? A couple. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that Gwen is talking about and Natalie is working on is putting devices on that monitor, very similar to some of the Apple devices, medical devices, that monitor people's reaction to things like violin concertos and music and visuals, and then allowing that feedback to go into the systems so that they can see as a crowd being a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things that I'm working on, very excited about, is how we can use the brainwaves that you actually produce while enjoying a piece of music. And none of you are going to have the same emotions, or not necessarily exact emotions to it. So we're actually going to visualize part of that tomorrow. If you are at the Monolith Award, I'm going to be performing, and we're going to have a special visualization of what that could give as a live result eventually. So I think this is where some of these exciting technologies can bring us, is actually using human. I know there's a lot of AI happening, but it's also a lot of human power that we can feed into the technology and control that through organic reactions.
Well, and Bert, I see we have you back now after a small technical difficulty. Some of the things that Bert has worked on is some of the motion control and capture biofeedback for the Apple Vision and for technologies predecessor to that. Bert, I don't know how much you've caught since you blipped away for a second, but could you talk a little bit about how these kind of biofeedbacks can go into immersive technology and what you think the future is?
Yeah, it's quite public. With Apple, it's quite hard to say what's not public. But it was disclosed that we use eye tracking to kind of predict. So that is like actually you look at a pupil and you'll know before it happens that you're going to click. So it improves accuracy and things like that. And you can imagine that once you have kind of all those devices on your head, there's a lot of possibilities you can do. But the great thing about Apple is privacy is always super important. So it's to find that balance where you want to have an enhanced experience, but also they don't know things that you don't want them to know.
Oh no.
They won't read your brain.
Good. And Gwen, in this, I guess that brings up something interesting from a psychological point of view, feeling like you trust the environment that you're in the middle of an immersive event. I know for some of the stuff we've done with Disney and with Sunweaver, that's one of the things that we want to make sure that people feel like, is that they are in control of the space that they're building. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Actually, it's interesting to analyze the data, the biodata from our bodies and how we can feel the immersive experiences and so on. But today, it's already demonstrated that the arts have a positive impact on well-being. And of course, we can do arts for increasing the well-being, but we can do it's just a good way to demonstrate how immersive arts can be interesting for people and their well-being, but we are not obligated to build something to impact positively well-being. And actually there is another part of the well-being and how people live a collective experience. It's all about storytelling, narrative, and how narratives connect people together. That's another point, I think, with a psychological point of view that is interesting to dive into.
It really is. And Natalie, do you have something to add to that?
Well, I just think that that's just fascinating, the way that it also makes us rediscover art in a new, fun way, because I think that art can seem inaccessible for some people for some reason, and just maybe, culturally or the environment you grew up in, but this allows so much, more and so many more people to have access to it. So,
And I would like to give an additional information based on that, because actually for me, my two statements for immersive arts is how it impacts positively people with their bodies and how it makes arts more accessible. Because, for example, I've seen that in this industry, immersive experiences like immersive exhibition on Van Gogh, Klimt, Monet, and so on, are making art more accessible to people who are not going usually in traditional museum. Because I have an example to illustrate this situation, because I'm a board member of venue in Belgium, which is dedicated to artistic residencies and programming events, concerts, and so on. And what a time we programmed a rap music event with a rap singer. Do we say that? Do we say that? Rapper, yeah. Thank you. I'm still improving my English, actually. And yeah, and it was. I was so sad because all of the friend of this rapper were outside of the vector, and we were like, guys, it's a place for you, just coming. And yeah, and it's very interesting how immersive art make with a more entertainment and interactive way, thanks to technology, art more accessible to people. Yeah.
Well, and with that, do we want to open up to a few questions with the time? And do you guys have some questions that you'd like to ask our panelists about immersive arts and the future of technology coming up? There in the back.
Would you consider this? Oh, sorry.
Oh, thank you so much.
Would you consider this a very small-scale immersive experience? Yeah.
Do you want any of us to answer, or yes?
Yeah, just involving bringing Bern here when he's not, and asking him questions that you can moderate on.
Gotcha. So, Bert, I might throw this to you because it sort of goes into something that's a little interesting about how technology and immersive technology can actually transcend where we are on the planet, or off it, I suppose. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how you can make it more visceral with technology?
Yeah, I think that, let's say now, like if I would have my Vision Pro or Immersive technology, I think I would feel more into the conference, and maybe, so I think that like immersive technology can bring people closer together. You have that sense of presence, but of course you need that critical mass. And you know, right now there's 30 million quests out there, so I think it's quite impressive. It's more than the Xbox, so the latest Gen Xbox. So I think we're at that critical mass, but now we need to make things frictionless, and that's something that we at Triptych are trying to do by investing in technologies that will make it more accessible to everyone.
Excellent. And, you know, I think to sort of answer your question a little bit more directly when you're saying, is this an immersive experience? I would ask, do you feel like you're having an enriched experience? Do you feel like there's some sort of story or narrative that you're able to really participate in? Maybe during that moment with the questions, that's where you can see that your actions are affecting the outcome of what we're doing here, whether or not our pulses are racing and we're all sharing this hot room together. But, you know, for me and for a lot of the things that we've done that are immersive experience, it's supposed to be also transformative. You walk into a place where there is a narrative happening and the world you can touch and you can feel the textures of it. So it's more than 4K video, it's more than Dolby Atmos sound. Rather, it's something that moves you. So if you feel like what we're saying up here in this warm room is tickling the back of your brain and is moving you, then I'd say that's an immersive experience, and thank you for participating. But I think that that's also a pretty low bar to what you can do when you take a whole palette of technology, storytelling, and your own ideas, that visceral spirit that you put into it, and then you share it with others. Gwen, as our resident psychiatrist here, what do you think?
Yeah, actually, I'm passionate about change, behavior change. And I think the first step to do a change is to be connected to ourselves and connected to our intuition. And I think the thing to go on that way is having creative experiences through immersive arts. And I love how we can create immersive experiences to evolve a behavior change for people and make them actor of their life, kind of. I know it can be inspirational, but I think there is something to work on that point. And the other thing in terms of a society, it's how with storytelling, narrative, we can create a mentality change. and building culture, building new storytelling for a city and for their people. So I think there is, several answers in terms of a change.
That makes sense. And Natalie, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I see it as kind of opening portals, you know. This technology really opens portals between time and space, and that's really fascinating when you really think about it. You could totally be, you know, in Times Square connecting with your cousin in Dubai, you know, just through technology and waving, and, you know, this is getting to be possible. You can also interact with shows that are way farther than you are, access art that you would not have access to. So it's just a portal to so many new experiences for everybody, and a new way to actively take part and even content create on top. You know, you can layer your own creation and participate, which I think is something that I'm seeing is like there seems to be a kind of deserting of certain normal, you know, cinema or theater rooms. Like, people expect to have some kind of agency. They expect to have control. Maybe it's during COVID, everybody was pushing buttons, but now it's just, we want to be part of it. We don't want to be just passively taking it in. And I think that this is the new step. It's that 4G, you know, aspect of it.
Well, and I think another thing is how it builds community. And when you talk about immersive experiences, technology isn't just the only thing that's driving that. If you take a look, there are some really established shows. Take a look at like San Diego Comic-Con, take a look at like EDC, major concerts and things, where people come in and they become part of the entertainment. People are cosplaying, they're dressing, they're bringing their own narratives to it. Things like the Bridgerton experience that was going around with Netflix.
The Labyrinth Ball. Or
the Labyrinth Masquerade. I'm moderator, I wasn't going to talk about that. But there are ways that you can bring somebody into a world of light and color of a story that you've designed, but you are only putting the seeds of it in there. And they have to pick up the rest of the breadcrumbs and make the rest of the narrative. They have to connect their own chapters. And speaking from experience, when you see people do this year after year after year, and even after decades, you start seeing communities form within the immersive experiences themselves. And that's really exciting. When you start seeing groups take ownership of it, looking at Disney and working with Mandalorian and things like that, there are groups that have been building their own Mandalorian armors and telling their own narratives sort of unofficially for over 20 years. And I mean, these guys are doing it, I would say arguably investing more money per suit than we are on set. And they are living that, and they wake up and they have an entire community of friends that, you know, some people work on their cars, these guys are working on their sets and their mercs and their different pieces. That's super exciting to be able to take ownership of that.
And we can see an evolution in terms of consumer demands, because more and more people want to interact with brands, want to interact with movies and that kind of things. And with the topic of this panel about the immersive experiences has a standalone industry, or is it just a trend? Actually, we can see that the evolution of the consumer demand make me feel confident in the way that immersive experiences can be a standalone industry, and it's not only a trend. Because we, for the Dirty Monitor, the creative studio for which I'm working for, we created immersive experiences since the pandemic, actually. We shifted the business model based on that, and it's very interesting because it's a reply to consumer demand, and at the same time, it's a very interesting new kind of a business model based on license, because we have our own IP, for example, and there is several things why immersive experiences are very interesting.
Yeah, and Bert, just to add upon that, well, bringing the virtual and the visceral and the technologies that you're working on, give us a couple of minutes of what you think the future is to blend both in-person experiences as well as the virtual technology that you're able to bring to bear.
Yeah, I mean, being an artist at art, I think that it's the most creative medium out there. And as I said before, I think it's not accessible yet. You know, we need to build like the Unity is not that hard, but it's still very technical. And then we need to make it even more accessible so that if you have an idea, you can express it. And that's where I think that Gen AI is very powerful. Is you can prompt what you have in your brain with like a few iterations, and then start from there and create virtual world. And they can be AR, which is in the physical world, or they can be totally immersive on another planet or whatever. And I think that we're a species where storytelling is so powerful. And I think it's the ultimate storytelling machine. It's just we need to master it. And like what you can think to do, you can create it in like, and that's maybe another layer is more like maybe we're already in a simulation. So maybe we'll create a simulation in a simulation.
Wow. And speaking of which, going back to your question about an immersive experience, I just heard the air conditioner kick on, which has really immersed me into much more happiness, I'm telling you. Thank you, attendees. Question?
Earlier, you guys were referencing the idea of using biometric data and synchronization to improve connectedness. I'm curious what sort of hardware or technology you're using to sort of read heartbeats and get that high. Because I do think it's very powerful. In many ways, that's kind of what a collective experience does anyway, but to have that assist of actual sensors and data synchronization, I think is very powerful.
Absolutely. Well, then I would say let's talk with Natalie and Bert a little bit about that. Natalie has something that she'll be displaying at this festival.
Tomorrow night we're just visualizing kind of the potential outcome of this new technology. We're developing it with Muse at the moment. There was another very clunky prototype of that was actually prickly and hurt your head. So it wasn't very comfortable. So we've been looking for new devices. And Muse is actually a Canadian company from Toronto, I think. And we've been developing this new idea, capture of brain wave with the data to use that as the incentive to trigger different effects.
Well, and with that brainwave data, for those who weren't able to quite hear, they're working on a brainwave data capture. They have a prototype already underway, and you'll be seeing it a little bit tonight, or tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night. Can you talk about what that was like, because you've already gone through tests and everything else, and we've seen some visuals coming out of it. What was that like, and what was people's response while you were playing music and seeing the brainwaves effect?
Well, the cool thing is that we asked the participants during that video to afterwards express what feelings, what they were seeing, what kind of stories went through their head while I was performing the same piece. And 5 people from different generations and backgrounds experienced it, and we could capture and see through the Muse hardware what the peaks are. And it's fascinating to see how music really influenced, sometimes in similar ways, but some people reacted much more to certain, peaks and falls in the music. And based on that, you can imagine what we can do with the data and how that can feed back into the performance. So right now, the technology isn't there yet to be able to render it live. So this is what we're working on, and that's why tomorrow night we're visualizing the ideas of what we want to do with it, using those numbers.
And then, Bert, to talk a little bit more about biofeedback on what you're seeing the next frontier of biofeedback going into the immersive spaces.
Yeah, I think, well, especially with Apple, with their ecosystem, I think they're going to connect the watch, and there's rumors that AirPods will also have sensor. So I think we'll start to see like multiple devices that want to enhance your health, because now with the dopamine economy and all that, it's really hard to resist, let's say. But Apple is very